Hi. In the previous tutorial, we looked at if statements, so specifying different conditions, and if those conditions evaluated are true, then we'd run lines of code, and if it evaluated false, then we'd just skip that code. So we looked at if statements. In this tutorial, we're going to look at how to specify more than just one test condition in an if statement. So we're going to look at else statements and else if statements. To start with, I'm going to create a variable called age. So I'll put in $age, and I'm going to make it an integer, and I'll just give it an initial value of 16. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make an if statement to check if someone's age is basically they're old enough to vote or not. So I'm going to put in if, and then in brackets the test condition, which will be if age is greater than or equal to 18. Then in curly brackets, if the age is greater than or equal to 18, then this line of code will run, which is going to be an echo statement, which says you are old enough to vote, okay, with a semicolon at the end. So basically, if the age is greater than or equal to 18, this line of code will run, otherwise it will just skip it if it's not true. So we can save that, and we can go and refresh the page, and currently nothing happens because the age is 16, so it's not greater than or equal to 18. If I change it to 18, save, refresh, it now says you are old enough to vote. And if I made it 19 or higher, it will still say that. But what if we wanted to display a message if this condition wasn't true? So if they were 5, or the age was 10 or 16, what if we wanted to say something there? Okay, so what we can do is we can have an else statement which will basically run if no condition evaluates to true. So if this test condition here evaluates to false, then it will sort of default onto an else statement and will run that instead. So to do that, all we need to do is write else, and because there's no condition we're testing here, it's just basically going to run this if no other condition evaluates to true. All we need to do is put in curly brackets and state what we want it to do. So we can just say else, curly brackets, and then something like this. For this example, echo, you are not old enough to vote. Okay, so now if I change this variable to anything less than 18, so say 16, it will say, oops, missed a semicolon there. Just remember to finish your statements with a semicolon. So if I refresh that page, it now says you are not old enough to vote. And if I change it to something like 20, it says you are old enough to vote again. So, okay, so we've got a condition of age is greater than or equal to 18, which does this, it says you are old enough to vote. And if the age is not greater than or equal to 18, so if it's any other number, then it will do this instead. All right, what if we also want to change it, and we want to say or display a separate message for someone whose age is 17, so they're going to be able to vote on the next birthday. So we want to say if somebody's not old enough to vote, we want to say you're not old enough to vote. If somebody is old enough to vote, we want to say that they are old enough to vote. But if somebody's close to being 18, they're 17 years, we might want to say a message that says you'll be able to vote on your next birthday. And to do that, we could use an else if statement. So we can specify another condition here to test. So just like the if statement, we need to specify a condition. So we've got else if, and then in brackets, we could say $age equal to 17. All right, so remember two equals signed to check if something is equal to something else. And then we can have our curly brackets there and specify what will happen. So we'll say echo, you can vote on your next birthday. All right, we can save that. And what we'll do is we'll test it with 16. So we'll change the age to 16. Save, refresh that page. Oops, I've forgotten yet again a semicolon there. All right, so save and refresh. Okay, so with the variable age being 16, it says you are not old enough to vote. With the variable age being equal to 17, save and refresh, it will say you can vote on your next birthday. And with the variable age being 18, we save and refresh, it should say you are old enough to vote. Okay, so there's two conditions being tested there, whether the age is greater than or equal to 18, and also whether the age is exactly equal to 17. And there's also an else statement which will run if none of those conditions evaluate to true. And if you want, you could add more else if statements, so you could specify as many different conditions as you want. So you could even add if age is equal to 16, echo you can vote in 2 years time, something like that. Okay, so now if we change that to 16, age value to 16, it will say you can vote in 2 years time. So you can keep adding more else if statements if you wanted, but you can only have one else statement. Okay, and one if statement there, as many else if statements as you want, and an else statement to finish. Okay, so that's basically how to use if statements, else if statements, and else statements in PHP. Thanks for watching.